What's up, players? Welcome to episode 104 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, what we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is January 7th, 2021. I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Daniel Lima.
Hello, Louis. I'm happy to be here starting 2022 with you. Another year of Ready Press Play, another year that we're going to be doing Ready Press Play for. Hopefully of many, or maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, let's just set the bar really low.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least we hit, at least we're hitting the third year. So
Yeah.
that's good, right?
Ready Press Play 3.0 is coming up next week, and
Yeah.
then we're not even going to do 3.0 until the week after, actually. But I'll get into
Yeah.
that. I'll get into that momentarily. But before we do some housekeeping, I just want to exchange some pleasantries, actually, because let me tell you this. I specifically remember last week on the anniversary of this episode, coming back into our break or getting the rust out of us and stuff like that. I remember that pit in my stomach of feeling nervous about recording. And this specific episode, I don't feel nervous about recording, and it's really weird. Like normally, 2 weeks off of recording, I would have been off my groove and stuff like that. I would have had like that like antsy kind of like shaking hand kind of thing, but I don't have that. What about you?
Nice. No, I'm fine. Other than the fact that it took us an hour to be able to start recording because of technical difficulties and etc. That aside, I think I feel fine.
It's
Yeah.
perfect to have technical difficulties on the penultimate video episode because you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about all that shit in like 2 weeks. So
Which, by the way, if people are watching the video on the Level One Gaming channel, you will probably notice that my background is very different than it used to be, and it's because this year, Lewis, I had like 2 weeks off from work during the holiday break. I don't think it was a full 2 weeks, but it was like almost 2 weeks. I ended up going to Florida and spending Christmas with my family, but I was only there for about 5 days, and then I came back and I had a few days at home before I went back to work. And during those days that I was at home, I used that time to kind of relax and play games and etc. It was kind of like the vacation of my vacation, as you like to do. Uh, but at the same time, I also try to use the time to kind of do some things in the house that I was spending. I sold a bunch of shit that I had to sell, like old furniture pieces and chairs and stuff that I wanted to get rid of. I was able to sell. And then I totally reorganized my office. Like I made a plan. I moved. I measured all my furniture. I put everything on like a Photoshop like floor plan and organized it. And then I decided how I wanted to modify it
You
first.
did the Brian
Planned it.
Altano, didn't you? You know what he did? He put it on Twitter of his desk setup and his measurements and his all that stuff.
I don't even remember that. I don't even know what you're referencing. But
Oh,
it's just a very Dan Lima thing, honestly, as well. Because I've done this before when I'm looking at apartments before I rent, like to figure out like does all my shit fit there and how am I gonna make it fit and how I'm gonna make it work, right? So I made a plan and then I spent like 2 days on this room basically. I also bought a new shelf that is specifically for all my video games. You can see it in the back there, which is pretty neat. And I just kind of moved things around, reorganized. I now have a consolidated work and personal setup. Before I had like two separate setups. Now I have kind of the same, and I kind of switched the keyboard and the mouse between the two very easily. And I was so proud of all of that. And then when we went to record today, everything that could have gone wrong, could have possibly gone wrong, went wrong, which is how these things tend to work. But hopefully, it's just today. And anyway, we're only going to be on video for one more episode. So it ultimately doesn't matter. I just wanted to have the setup just kind of for me. It's more of a, having it be clean, having it be organized the way I wanted it to be than necessarily for like video background purposes.
yeah. My office setup is like a triple setup. It's like work from
Mm-hmm.
home, like office, and then like personal computer podcasting. Like I can do, and then video gaming. So like live streaming, playing Fortnite, like all that
Yeah.
stuff. I literally do it all in one place. So it's
Who knows? Maybe we'll do some streams again this year, and then
oh yeah.
I can use the setup for that.
I actually forgot that we did
Yeah.
that.
That we ever did streams, right? It's been like we actually did some in the beginning of 2021, so
Yeah, we
it
did.
hasn't been as
We
long
played
as you
Halo
may
1
think.
in 2021. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, and It
and
Takes Two
it
as
takes two.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anyways, as far as housekeeping goes, we only have one thing to talk about housekeeping, which you already mentioned it, but I'm going to mention it again. Next week is the final video episode of Ready Press Play. So we're going to be doing a special video send off where we're going to do a video game show and tell where we bring up some of our cool, like snazzy, like little collectibles and stuff like that, or tell stories of like the coolest shit that we
Hmm.
own, and just basically show off and flex on everyone and stunt, all that good stuff. It's we got to do it the Ready Press Play way, or at least the Lewis way. But yeah, so we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna throw a curveball to you, Dan, because we did not talk about this off air, and I'm basically springing this on you as a complete surprise.
Okay.
So, what do you think if we do a grown and sexy, where we like dress up in like ties and like
Sure.
comb our hair, put gel in it, like all that stuff. Like I'm talking about
Yeah.
like we're grown and sexy, basically.
Okay. I can do a gala night kind of. I can do like a formal outfit, but I don't know if I want to go all out because I we always record this, after the end of the workday,
Yes,
and
both
I
of
am
us.
pretty casual. Like my work attire is pretty casual already. So
I literally
uh,
wore this while I was working today from home. So
yeah,
yeah.
I would have to like end my work day and then kind of like in that like tired space of like, oh, I just got done working kind of thing, go and like get dressed up for like a gala night kind of thing to sit here for 2 hours and then take it off anyway. So I'll come. Let me put it this way: there are different levels, right? So like imagine that my attire right now is level X.
hmm
I will commit to be at least X plus one, whatever that means.
Okay.
But we'll see where that goes.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm committed to working in like a full on like clothes and stuff like that, where it's like
Mhm.
slacks, shoes that hurt my feet, that kind of stuff, like those
Yeah.
those black shoes that always like suck. Like
I
I'm gonna
I
do
want
that.
to go on a quick tangent about attire since we're talking about it, right?
All right.
So, Louis, if you have a job interview, and
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably haven't had one in a while because you've
Right.
been at the same job for a while, but if you're going to a job interview, how do you dress up?
Oh, full on suit, man. Like my
Hmm.
last job interview that I went for the job I'm working now, it's like I had a full on blazer suit and like the whole
Hmm.
nine, like straight up.
Cool.
I could have gone to a wedding with that.
So, in the games industry, the work environment is pretty casual. Like usually, people will be working at a game studio with t-shirts, like gaming t-shirts or whatever. It's not that big a deal. So a lot of people wonder when they're joining the industry, like, what should I wear to an interview with the games industry? Like, should I go, should I put on a suit to go on an interview for the games industry? And you don't necessarily need to put on a suit, but I will say that my advice is that you should try to look better than you would on a day to day, even if you think the job is going to be casual and you can like dress casual on the day to day. The reason is because, and I had a teacher kind of tell me this, the person who is interviewing you is going to look at your attire and is going to do like a -1 in their head for what you're actually going to look like on the job because there's an expectation that you're going to be, go above and beyond for the job interview. Let me tell you what that means. If you show up to the job interview wearing a suit, whoever's interviewing you goes like, okay, this is a guy who on the day to day is probably going to wear like a button up shirt and a nice pair of pants and stuff. If you go to the interview wearing a button-up shirt and a nice pair of pants, you go like, well, okay, well, in the day-to-day, this guy's probably going to wear like maybe like a polo or something like that. Okay, if you go to the interview wearing a polo, then you go, okay, in the job, you're probably going to wear a
T-shirt.
t-shirt. But if you wear a t-shirt on the job interview, then they're going to be like, what the fuck is this guy going to be wearing when he's not trying to impress me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's true. I do think even like if subconsciously you may have a little bit of that. So
Interesting.
um,
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
now
like
that I've
I'll
killed,
I'll
like,
put it to you
go
this
ahead.
way: like if I'm gonna be going to working or interviewing for like an IGN position, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
like go to the IGN, even the Zoom interview, like wearing this. I gotta,
Right.
you know, gotta do it like do it big.
Here's the other thing too. When people are interviewing you, they know that they want to see how much you want that job, right? Like you got to kind of demonstrate that you actually care about that moment. That you didn't just kind of roll out of bed and you go like, okay, let me turn on the Zoom and do this thing. It's like you always want to show that you're prepared and that you care and that you did your research and uh and try to make yourself look nice and all those things because that will be a representation of what you're going to look like for when they send you to visit a client or a sponsor or something or to go do be on camera and do something or whatever,
Yes.
right? So yeah.
True. True.
Anyway.
Anyways, Yeah, yeah. All right. You derailed the podcast enough. It's all right. All right. But anyways, I just got to say real quick. So that's episode 105 is next week, and that's the video episode. And then for all you audio listeners, episode 106 is the official, I guess, the actual start of Ready Press Play 3.0. Because normally speaking, and this is just a trend that we've did last year during 2.0, is we reformatted the show. We cut segments. We added new segments. We reorganized and restructured the flow of the show. And we're Dan, much like he likes to do, he wants to retool the show and redo everything from scratch, like our page one rewrite. So for all you audio listeners, episode 106 will be your new format. So be looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Probably not a lot of major differences, but just some slight adjustments this time.
Ah, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So with all that out of the way, like 10 minutes into the show, we can finally get into our first segment of the day. If I can find the actual sound effect. Oh, there we go. Temple of Time is where we basically do a little flashback of all the anniversaries of video games from 5 years, 10 years, and so on and so forth. You guys know the drill. We do it at the beginning of every month. And this month, I have a couple of things to say before we go into it. Number one, it's January. So the video games industry, unlike around 2015, they actually started taking like January seriously as a release, as a viable AAA release calendar type situation. So 5 years ago, of course, in 2017, we're in that period where cool games are coming out. Everything else beyond that, kind of a bit of a scraping the bottom of the barrel. A lot of them were ports in some certain situations. So yeah, you just got to deal with that. But beyond that, I just wanted to say in compiling the lists, I'm so used to like since I've always been doing Temple of Time every month. I'm so ingrained into like typing in 2016, 2011, 2006, and so in
Oh
doing this,
yeah.
I couldn't just like type it really fast because it's like
Yeah.
2017, 2012, like it's like yeah, that muscle
You know
memory.
what's the interesting thing about the segment, Lewis, is that we can only do it for 5 years. Because once we've done it for 5 years, then we're just going to be repeating the same games. You know? Because then the games that were
Five
five
years
years
turn 10
old
years.
when we first started will turn 10 and so forth, right? So this is a segment that has a
A
almost like
life,
has an official end date, right?
yeah,
Like,
an end of
uh,
shelf life kind of thing. Yeah, you're right. Interesting.
you know,
Unless we really would care about the 5 year anniversary of like the PS5 games and stuff like that or whatever. But yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the actual stuff here. So, 5 years ago, January 2017, we have the Switch was actually re revealed, not with that little commercial, but an actual dedicated presentation. And also, Sony closes Gorilla Cambridge. And on January 31st, Wii U production officially ended. So, anything you wanted to say about that first?
Yeah. So number one, rest in peace, Wii U. I bought the Wii U early on. Probably not like when it first, like release day, because that's not typically my thing. But I bought it in the first few months that it was out. Probably even in the first month. And I love my Wii U. I had so much fun with it over those 4 years that I had it. And I still have it to this day. I still will play it very rarely, but at least once a year I'll go check out something on the Wii U, either go back and play some old game or use it as a Wii emulator, I guess, which is the latest thing I did with it. um and if you think about it too, the Switch is already older than the Wii U when it was when the production ended, because at that point the Wii U had just turned 4 and the Switch is about to turn 5 in just 2 months.
Yeah.
um so
Holy
can you
shit. We're
imagine?
going to
Yeah.
cover Switch anniversary, 5 year
Yeah.
anniversary titles.
Yeah,
Breath of the
dude.
Wild, 5 years ago.
2 months from now, yeah, Breath of the Wild is gonna be there. Then soon, Super Mario Odyssey is gonna be there, and Splatoon 2 or whatever, and all that stuff. And remind me, Lewis, the Switch presentation on January. Which one was that? Was that the first time that we got the name of the Switch?
The
Or
second, like, so
okay.
October 2016, we got the trailer. It was just like
Oh,
a
okay,
trailer of all
cool.
these millennials, like that one chick on like that rooftop party,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that one. And then that's it. And then
Hmm.
this the actual dedicated presentation on a stage and giving us a lot of
Right.
features, a lot of like insights, and a
Where
lot of
they're doing like, snapping
yeah,
their fingers
yeah.
and going through like different games and stuff. Do you remember what were the things that were shown at that
We
presentation?
got to see Mario Kart 8 Deluxe without it being officially
Hmm.
announced. We saw like how you can do LAN parties with Bluetooth, like on the Switch with Splatoon 2. Up to 10 Switches can pair up to each other. We saw like the guy from EA talk about how we love Mario and Luigi or whatever. Like I named my kid after like Luigi or something like that. Like all this other stuff. The guy from like No More Heroes 3 promoting it. Some cool stuff,
Hmm.
but a lot of just hardware. Most of it was dedicated to the hardware.
Yeah. I remember those presentations. I thought they were cool. Like, I wouldn't have guessed at that point how successful the Switch really ended up being. And I remember that people were kind of split, like people in games media and stuff, they were kind of split between either being big believers on it or being a little bit more skeptic because of the failure of the Wii U. So it's kind of interesting to look back on and think that, like, the people that were excited, the people that were hopeful, were the ones that turned out to be right, because Nintendo really turned their ship around, releasing this major hit console that's now been the best selling console in the US for like the last 30
3,
months
yeah.
basically, or something. Yeah. um yeah, cool.
All right. So for the actual games that came out, we got Hatsune Miku, Project Diva Future Tone for the PS4. I only know about the Hatsune Miku games because of the like it was like a big VR title, like
Hmm.
concert chick or whatever. Then there's Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony, which recently came out on the Switch, but it got first release on the PS4 and the Vita. Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King came out on the 3DS. Gravity Rush 2 for the PS4. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue for the PS4. Man, the PS4 is having a pretty strong month because we got the banger title that is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. I did a Let's Play of that on my YouTube channel. And Tales of Berseria, PC, PS4, and finally Yakuza 0, PS4. Man, PS4 dominated January like
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was the time frame when, I think the Xbox One was already kind of starting to feel a little dead, right? Like
Yeah.
there wasn't that, like, I remember there were like that first like year or two of the Xbox One, like we got some big exclusives hit and people were, despite the whole like TV fiasco and stuff like that, that there were some things coming out and people were kind of looking forward to the future, but then we got all those canceled
Yeah.
games and then PS4 just dominated from that point on, I think.
Yeah, like there was just like the one was like the best holiday lineup ever, and it was like
Yeah.
one of them was like Tomb Raider because they bought the exclusive for that holiday and all the other
Yeah.
stuff. They had all like a lineup of games for that holiday, and then that was the last time they had a good holiday lineup, and then they just kind of sort of sucked as
Dude,
far
there
as
was an E3 that was like, I don't know if it was like 2014 or 15 or something, where I watched and I was not in, like, I'm kind of like I'm kind of into Xbox now, but I wasn't at all at that point. And I watched the presentation. I was like, dang, I think Xbox might have won this E3 because they showed like Scalebound and, Fable and all this other shit. And I think Halo 5 at the time. And like, there's like all this stuff. It was like this like crazy cool presentation. And then like Quantum Break as well, which
yeah.
was like this ambitious new project. And then it turned out that like half the games got canceled. The ones that came out were not that good, and like, so it's kind of interesting to look back on that. But yeah, I don't have a lot of specifics to say about these games. I know that Kingdom Hearts 2.8 was just kind of the last thing people got before Kingdom Hearts 3. I know that Resident Evil 7. I played the demo for it, and I really want to go back and actually play the game. That is actually one of those games that I am really gonna try to play this year
You
because I played
played
8.
you played 8 though, like
Yeah, so I because I played 8 and I liked it so much, then I feel like that is motivation for me to actually go back and check out 7, especially because a lot of people say 7 is better
yeah. Well, I mean, like
than
in the
8.
sense that, like, yeah, you can't. The story. How do you follow the story when it follows the events of 7? But
Yeah.
it's all bullshit. We all know. But still,
Yeah.
it
Well,
does follow the story, but you don't need to know what happened in 7 to like
the Resident Evil 8 also kind of gives you like a
cliff
catching
notes.
you up like in the
Yeah,
beginning,
that's
yeah,
true.
like to get you caught up. So I already know, like, I'm not going to be surprised by the story of the game, but I just kind of want to play it more for like the
game
scares
wise.
and the gameplay experience.
All right.
Um,
So 10
yeah.
years ago brings us to January 2012. Cube came out for PC. The atrocity that is Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 came out on PC. Final Fantasy 13 2, the game that Dan convinced me exists, came out on the PS3 and 360. And Soul Calibur 5 came out on PS3 and 360. Again, not a lot.
I actually don't have anything to say for this particular month. I do have Final Fantasy 13 2 on that gaming shelf in the back there, so I could go and grab it if you don't believe it.
Yeah. Again, nothing to really talk about here. I mean, I'm a fan of the Soul Calibur games. I believe Soul Calibur 5 had Darth Vader as like a guest
Mhm.
character, if I'm not mistaken. So that was some pretty cool stuff there.
Go read the next year. I'll be right back.
All right, for the next year, 15 years ago brings us to, let's see here. 15 is January of 2007. So I decided to put in some jokes in there. So we have Karaoke Revolution presents American Idol for the PS2, a licensed game, and then The Shield, the game, came out on PS2 and PC. The Shield being a TV show, so another licensed game. Just stuff that I normally wouldn't have thrown on there, but just because for the lulz, I threw it on there. And then we got, oh my God, Dan is on camera showing off Final Fantasy 13 and 13 2. Nice. Um,
Yep.
so we got Lost Planet, Extreme Condition for the 360, PS3, and PC. WarioWare Smooth Moves for the Wii, which I own that game. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All for the DS. And Inuyasha, Secret of the Divine Jewel for the DS. I remember that Inuyasha was a franchise that was really big on the PS2, but I guess it went out with the whimper on the handheld.
I liked the anime when I was a kid. It's it's a very big anime from like the 90s or something.
Mm.
But I haven't really played any of these games. I own WarioWare Smooth Moves. I actually bought it last year for my Wii collection, and I want to play it. I really do, because I've heard from many people like this is one of those, and I remember at the time too, like this was one of the games that were just like really cool, like party favorites for the Wii at the time. And I've heard a lot of people say that it is one of the best WarioWare games, just because of all the goofy like shit that it has you do with the Wii remote. So I'm gonna see. Maybe I'll play that this year at some point. I want to at least like turn it on on a Saturday or something, and just kind of play it for like an hour to see what it's like.
So I think with like karaoke Revolution presents American Idol is they actually have like the judges of American Idol like talk or like program themselves in and stuff like that. They've recorded lines and use their likeness and stuff like that. And so when you actually like have like the mic accessory that goes into the PS2 and you sing it into it, the actual AI Simon Cowell is gonna like judge you and just rip you a new one.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
sounds great. I want that so bad.
So, anyways, but yeah, I just thought that was funny just to put an American Idol game on the on this list.
Yes.
Um, Next up, 20 years ago, January of 2002, Res came out for the PS2. I only know about that because of Res Infinite for the VR
Yeah.
PSVR.
Yeah.
NBA 2K2 came out for the PS2. It's a port. It came out in October for the Dreamcast the previous year. Mobile Suit Gundam Xeonic Front PS2. I want to say that's just like a licensed game. I want to say. Medal of Honor Allied Assault came out for the PC. This is when the Medal of Honor franchise was a PC exclusive franchise at the time. And finally, a big name game that I know, Parappa the Rapper 2, came out for the PS2.
All right. I've heard of Parappa. I know that, I think it was one of the first like rhythm games that, were really popular on PlayStation and stuff, but I've never played that franchise either.
Yeah, again, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot going on here, but
Yeah. Not a lot of Dan and Lewis games and come out in January, it sounds like.
25 years ago, January of 1997, Diablo came out for the PC. Oh my
Nice.
God! And we didn't get to know about this, but Japan, they actually tend to be pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? They tend to be generous with releasing games in January, as
Hmm.
you'll see later on in the list. But Final Fantasy VII came out in Japan for the PS1, and I think in the fall, I want to say like later that year in '97, it came out for North America. But Japan got to have it first. And let's see here. Again, not a whole lot to say, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the 30-year mark. 30 years ago is January of 1992. First up, on January 1st, the Atari Corporation drops support for the Atari 2600, Atari 8-bit family, Atari 7800, and software for those systems. Sure, why not? 1992, I
Was
guess,
this when was the video game crash again? Or no, that was
86.
yeah, that was way before this. So I was wondering like if this had some kind of connection to that, like as the aftermath of the video game crash, um but I guess that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think that just after this is after Nintendo came into the game and was just kind of dominating everything. So I think it was kind of the end of Atari as a strong competitor in the field around there, and it was right before PlayStation came into play as well.
Yeah, I guess January of 1992 actually officially truly marks the end of Atari, because
Yeah.
Atari was irrelevant in the hardware space, and they tried to make a comeback during the PS1 era with the Atari Jaguar, but that didn't do anything. So they just sort of went away. But yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, yeah, when Atari dropped supports for I know the Atari 2600 and I know the Atari 7800. I know that those are like the major models. So the
Yeah.
fact that they drop support for that means it's over. The party's over. So yeah, so as far as actual releases go, we got the Adams Family came out for the Game Boy and the NES. And again, I just want to remind you guys that the Super Nintendo existed, but whatever. Back to the Future Part 2 came out for the Genesis. Darkwing Duck came out for the TurboGrafx 16. Die Hard came out for the NES, and Prince of Persia came out for the Game Boy. Now, Dan, I have these abbreviations. If you saw TG16, would you have figured that out?
I would have no idea what that is.
Do you
Top Gear 2016.
So yeah, the TurboGrafx 16 is like it's also known as the PC engine in Europe and stuff, and it's basically like an 8-bit system. That right? I don't actually know. I take that back. It's a 16-bit system, but it has like a dual core system where it's two 8-bit processors combined instead of it being a 16-bit. So that's why they call
Hmm.
it a TurboGrafx 16. But it's supposed to be like a contemporary to the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. But really, the only game I've ever played on this TurboGrafx was Bonk's Adventure or something. So yeah. But anyways, Prince of Persia existed even back in the 1990s.
Was that? Do you know what that like? Was that a port of another version of the game, or was that an original Prince of Persia game
I
for
want to say
the?
original, but I can't. I can be
Mm,
wrong, but I just know that they were like 2D side scrollers back in the
hmm.
day. So
That's crazy.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time is like the reinvention of like the franchise and what we know it as
Yeah.
today. But yeah, I actually, to tell you the truth, real talk, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, I thought that was the first game ever in the series. I didn't even know it
Yeah,
was a
I thought
thing.
so too. I didn't know it was that old.
Yeah. So, anyways, next up, we are at 35 years ago, January of 1987. Again, Japan only. We didn't get anything here in America, but on January 14th, Nintendo released Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link for the Famicom Disk System in Japan. The game would go unreleased in America for nearly 2 years afterwards. Those
Yeah.
bastards.
Well, it is the black sheep of the Zelda games, I'd say. Like, and I know that there's some people that really like that game and stand by it. It's cool to see, Nintendo used to try these different concepts with their, their number two games, right? Like, Super Mario Brothers 2. I know that it's not really the Super Mario Brothers 2 from Japan. It was made, it was the Doki Doki game that they, turned into Mario for America. But and then Zelda 2 is like this completely different game than the original Legend of Zelda. It must have been so weird at that point in time, be alive, play Legend of Zelda, love it, and be like, oh, I'm so excited for the sequel, and then actually see what it is, and have it be like this completely different game, right? Like you go through from this like top down, adventure to what's basically a platformer, right? And I've tried playing that game. It's interesting, but I could never really get into it.
Same.
And it's funny because I like platformers, but it's not it's not at your traditional like level based platform. It's almost like it is still like an adventure Legend of Zelda game, but just
I think it's the only Legend of Zelda game that has RPG elements. To tell you the truth, like it has leveling systems
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, it just seems like it was just when I played it like with no guide at the time, like I had like no idea what the hell the context of the situation was. It just seems like you're in this like Dragon Quest like overworld, and then suddenly you're in like this not overworld, and
Yeah.
yeah, this 2D side scrolling thing or whatever. So, yeah, I think I would always die, but yeah. So yeah, just I think when I was thinking about this, I think there was like this general trend where like Nintendo, when they would make sequels, they wouldn't just make a sequel in the sense of the way we think of sequels in the modern times. When sequels in the modern
Yeah.
times is about like basically doing the first game, but again, but
Right.
better or whatever. Where like back in the NES days, sequels would be like a complete genre rewrite. Let's rethink it. We're not trying to fit into a mold, so that's why like even though it doesn't really count, but Super Mario Brothers 2 didn't really isn't really Super Mario's 1, and Zelda 2 isn't really Zelda 1. I think the same thing
Yeah.
might have been true for like even third party games like Konami with Castlevania 2 not being Castlevania 1, but I could be just pulling that one out of my ass.
You
But
know what's interesting? Gaming was still so new at that point that I wonder if they were not sure of what defined a franchise, right? Like it's like today when we think of franchises, we think of the gameplay as well. The gameplay defines a franchise as much as the characters and the world do, and sometimes even more so. But maybe at that point they were like, well, Link, Zelda, and Ganon. That's what makes a Zelda game. The genre, the style of game doesn't matter, right? Like we can play with it. We can just turn it into something else. Um, and that's like an interesting perspective on it when you think about it. Like I am not necessarily against it, but you can see how that will lead to your fans being disappointed and not wanting to, play the game. Like, what if God of War Ragnarok came out
and it's
and
nothing
instead of
like yeah.
yeah, instead of it being like a like a third person action adventure, it's like a first person shooter all of a sudden or something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, we'd be like, what the fuck? Um, but now we do that, but we do it with spin-offs, right? So we just call it like we would call it like God of War colon, bow and
Ascension or
arrow
whatever. Yeah.
adventure, or something.
Yeah, or like with like the Kingdom Hearts, Melody of Chains or something like that, whatever the
Yeah,
fuck it's
yeah,
called.
yeah.
Yeah, rhythm stuff, whatever. Yeah, you're right. Interesting. Yeah, I think it's almost like having the video game industry having their cake and eating it too, because they can just instead of calling them sequels, you can call them spin-offs, and then you can play around with the formula and but keep the character
Hmm.
and the name recognition. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But anyways, next up, 40 years ago, January of 1982, Sega releases Zaxxon, which introduces isometric graphics and looks far more 3D than any other raster game at the time. I actually had to look up the definition of the word raster, and it's basically like a way of like rendering something or viewing something from a certain like
Yeah,
angle. Did not know that was a word, but yeah. Anyways, January 13th, Midway releases Miss Pac-Man, despite being
nice.
copyrighted in 1981 by Namco. Um, um, as the name suggests, it's a sequel to Pac-Man, but was created without Namco's authorization. So that's why we don't see Miss Pac-Man in Smash Bros. As an alternate skin for Pac-Man, because it's a
Interesting.
bootleg. Um,
Hmm.
they also release Baby Pac-Man, which is a pinball video game hybrid, and Pac-Man Plus without Namco's authorization later in the year of '82. So, yeah.
The interesting thing about Miss Pac-Man, and when we get to this far back in the past, this is many years before I was born. So I don't know this side of video game history that well. I didn't live it. This stuff was already really old by the time I was even born. So I'm not super familiar with it. But the thing I know is that a lot of times when we think of Pac-Man, and you're picturing Pac-Man in your head, you're actually thinking Miss Pac-Man, because Miss Pac-Man is just a far superior game than the original Pac-Man. There's
Yes.
so much more to it, more variety, more
It's faster.
levels, more, yeah, like, and it's kind of interesting to think that this bootleg version of the game is really like the better game, and the one that uh I almost feel like, I wonder, this might be a weird thing to say because Pac-Man came first, but I wonder if Miss Pac-Man had never existed and if we only had Pac-Man, the original, I wonder if it would have been like as iconic, if Pac-Man would still be as iconic as it is,
Yes, I see what you're saying. Like, does it?
Yeah.
Do we pay? Like, do people still put respect on Pac-Man's name if it wasn't for Miss Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting, but you're right. And I love the cutscenes in the Miss Pac-Man where they're like running around together and all that stuff, and then they meet each other, and then they do a
Yeah.
little kiss and stuff. I think like that might be like the very first or one of the first instances of video game cutscenes, if possibly.
And the arcade like the arcade cabinet like art and stuff is so like I don't know how to describe it, but it's so old school like objectifying.
Yes, I was
Like,
gonna say Miss
it's like
Pac-Man. She's all like posed like,
yeah.
draw me like your French girls, Jack. Yeah,
And I just think
and
it's
she's like
so
doing the kissy
funny.
face too, like, mwah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it's so funny that they looked at Pac-Man, like that character, which is literally just a yellow bull, and they were like, let's make it a woman and let's make it one that people want to fuck. And let's put that in the cabinet. You know? Like, dang, all right. You do you, I guess.
Yeah, and then here comes Baby Pac-Man later that year, like
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting is like I actually kind of like sort of like behumbug like that Namco didn't like put Miss Pac-Man in the lexicon or family or legitimize Miss Pac-Man, like
I
whenever
think there
there's
is a story here.
I was gonna
I don't
say
remember it,
I was
but
gonna say like they don't like. I want every time there's ever been like an NES classic or a re-release of something, they've never put Miss Pac-Man on any kind of like re-release, Namco Museum, what have you.
mhm,
Granted, I'm pretty sure that's Midway, whatever the fuck, but still, like we don't have like a preservation of Miss Pac-Man. Is what I was saying.
mhm.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just diatribe over, but like I just wanted to say like this. The only thing I just wish for is an alternate Miss Pac-Man skin. Granted, I'm pretty sure modders have done that for Smash already, but I wanted like
Oh yeah.
I want an official like just alt skin, But whatever.
Mhm.
Finally, January of 1977 was 45 years ago, and again, it's closer to the dawn of video games. In January, RCA Corporation releases the Studio 2 video game console, and I tried to put a link on there, but I guess the link went away. Oh wait, there we
No,
go.
the link's
Yeah,
there.
the
I
link
just
is there.
clicked it. I had never seen this before.
Yeah, neither have I. And I just wanted to put it out there. I put the link on here just so that way I can put a picture of it on screen. But apparently, it was a huge commercial failure, and it was discontinued like the following January. So
It looks like a telephone.
yeah, it didn't even have like a joysticks or whatever. It was like a Pong clone or whatever. And your interaction with the game is to press those keypads as like directional buttons.
Yeah.
And it was pretty crappy. So
It's interesting to think about how in the history of video games there are some key moments where somebody somewhere just had this idea and that idea just became the standard.
yeah,
And it might have not become the standard right away, but it eventually becomes the standard, right? Like
joysticks.
um
Yeah, like
yeah, like at some point somebody's like, let's have a joystick, and then that's it. We have joysticks up to now. It's not a joystick like that, but we have analog sticks which are basically joysticks in our controllers, right? Like at some point somebody's like, let's have two analog sticks and have them be on the controller this way, or like let's have four face buttons, not six,
yeah.
not two, let's have four face buttons, and then that just
N64
becomes
and Duke had
yeah.
6 face buttons. Yeah, but yeah, you're
It's
right.
interesting, it's cool.
Yeah, you're right. So we have to have a couple of cracked eggs to make a what is it? An omelet, and then this.
Yeah, Lewis, we got to start a gaming history podcast together, man. I want to. That's something that's been like cooking in my head, like a monthly like gaming history podcast or something like that. But
Yeah.
I have this particular idea for it. It's just like obviously time. I don't have time. I barely have time for this one, so it probably will never happen. But I have this idea of like where basically we start at the dawn of gaming, and then each episode we're just like we progress a little bit, and imagine it's like it being like a monthly
Uh-huh.
thing, right? So it's like so you don't have to do it like that often, but we can research like a year, like the first year of video games, like what happened, or like the first few years or something, like the first few games and etc. And then we can talk about that, and then we just move forward a little bit. And it would probably take us a year to get to like the NES, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just really like that idea. We're just kind of going through almost like a documentary series in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. We're just gonna start like putting our stuff in like voiceover clips and stuff like the dawn of time and like the Big Bang kind of shit.
yeah.
um, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna cover some video game history, or at least specific segments. Generally, maybe tend to be more modern history, I guess, of like the
yeah.
2000s. We're gonna cover that on Cogs in a Machine, which is gonna be debuting later this month. So
Shout out to that.
yeah, so be
Do you
looking
already
for
have a
something.
date?
So I honestly, I've been talking to Hugger, and I was originally pitching her this coming Tuesday on the 11th, but she said she wasn't gonna be quite ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and either assume it's got to be one of the two, either the 18th or the 25th, because there's only two other Tuesdays left in the month of January, and I'm pretty sure she wants it to be January. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
So basically, and either be coincide with the by the time we go off video, we'll still be on air, but by the time we go off of
Yeah.
video, we'll just sort of slide right in into being on the on this website on this YouTube channel. So, but yeah. Anyways, that was it. And Dan, I gotta say, we managed to pull off about 40 minutes, or actually 30 minutes minus the 10-minute beginning, but we still managed to pull off 30 minutes worth of good like banter despite not having
Nice.
much to talk
Yeah.
about. So, yes, pat ourselves right there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna give you a heads up for when you're editing later. By the way,
All right.
I was watching the Audacity track, and when I was laughing out loud and stuff, I kept peaking the audio. So I just went in and I lowered my mic volume a little bit. So hopefully that won't happen anymore. But we'll see.
All right. I mean, I did the same too, by the way. I usually just leave them in there, whatever. RIP headphone users. Oh, by the way, I just want to say this really fast, and I don't. And this is completely off topic, but I noticed that last week when I edited the audio and the video together into like the podcast, where I took the first 15 minutes of our audio show and put it in the video show because I forgot to record the
Yeah.
video. I noticed that our audio was noticeably louder on the audio versus the video.
Mm.
Like it was completely like it sounded studio quality. It sounded nice and fresh and edited. And then as soon as you were talking mid sentence and you transitioned to video, all of a sudden you were just like you sucked.
Yeah.
Like
Of course, because we do work on editing the audio and stuff, but we don't do that for the videos, so that makes sense.
if anything, it's an advertisement to like join the audio show. You
Yes.
can hear like the quality difference. So,
Yeah,
uh,
totally.
anyways, let's go ahead and move on to topics of discussion. I almost played the topic of the show sound effect, which is noticeably longer. But for our topics of discussion, we were on holiday break, so uh, Dan, you mostly have the floor as to what you've been playing because I didn't play shit during the holiday break. However, I do have like one or two things to talk about, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I played a few things. I didn't go crazy. I probably didn't put as much time into video games as I would probably otherwise wish, because during the holidays you always get busy. You got to do family stuff, and like either like you're buying gifts and then you're giving gifts and then you're going out and doing stuff, having dinner with your family or friends or whatever you're doing. And
Same
um
shopping, all that
so
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so and then I always have a list of stuff that I want to try to do, right? Like this time I wanted to reorganize my room and all that stuff, but I did get a chance to play a few games. First thing is I played a lot more Forza Horizon. So Lewis, this is 100% a Dan approved game now.
Hmm.
This is, spoilers. This is probably going to be on my list for game of the year at the end when we eventually do that. So that's coming up in a few weeks, guys. So to those that are listening, and just love that game. Such a good time. Really enjoy playing it. Enjoy it when I see Chakalaka 88 driving next to me and I get past him. Fuck that guy. Um, and it won IGN's Game of the Year. So that was kind of
Did not know
yeah,
that.
that was kind of surprising. I think some folks over there like Ryan McCaffrey and stuff really pulled for it, and it worked out. And especially in a year where there weren't a lot of standout video games. But then so I played some of that, and I played some FIFA with my brother and stuff when we were hanging out. But I want to talk about one new game from 2021 that we got that I played. Not too much, but just a few times to have enough times to have an opinion on it.
Hmm.
And it's Mario Party Superstars.
Oh.
Now, Lewis, have you been playing that? Because I thought you might have been playing that.
I don't even own the game, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
But I heard like pretty decent things about it.
It is pretty good. Now, take my opinion on this with a grain of salt, because I am not a old school Mario Party player. In fact, I had only played Mario Party 8 before, which is the Wii one, and I didn't even play that much. And I even talked about it on the podcast when I did. It was like a few months ago or something.
Jeez, you
Um,
missed like the heyday of the N64 and GameCube.
yes, yeah. Well, I didn't have N64 in our GameCube, so I was like completely out of that realm. But we picked up this one. First, we played it at a friend's house. We're getting dinner with a friend, and he had it, and then we played it together over there, and we had a good time. And so we then Leah went to see her friends, and they had it, and then they were playing all night, and then we decided to just go and get the game. So we got it. This is basically a collection. This is an all stars, the best hits from all the Mario Party games, right? They got mini games from all the different games. They got all the different boards and stuff.
Classic
And
boards, yes.
yeah, and it's just a great lot of fun. Like and it's so easy too with the Switch. Like you just get the Joy Cons out, and just kind of spread them around. Everybody gets a Joy Con and stuff, and then you just go and play a game, go through the mini games, have some fun. It's all a bunch of bullshit with the extra stars at the end, so you never know who's gonna win. There
I'm
was,
glad you
in
don't
fact,
turn those off, but yes.
yeah, I just played with Leah yesterday, and she was just destroying me the entire game. And I just kept telling her, like, "Hey, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this. I'm just telling you, I'm gonna win this." I was trying to manifest it, and then towards the very end, I got like 2 stars towards the very end, and then I got like 2 more extra stars at the end, and then I beat her.
Nice.
like I had like 0 stars the entire game. She had like 3, and then at the end, I got like it was like 4-3, and I won. So
With the
it's just
power
a
of bullshit, you win.
yeah, I know the power of like Nintendo. What do they call it? We always use that word in Mario Kart. When you're like last play, rubber banding
Yeah.
is what they call it. Yeah, the power of Nintendo rubber banding. I just have to say though. Now, okay, so like I said, I don't have a very developed opinion on this because I am not. I can't speak to like what this game is doing better or worse than other Mario parties and all that stuff that well. But I will say something, and this is not a criticism of Mario Party, but a criticism of the Switch,
Hmm.
which is that when you're playing with the single Joy-Con, you're spreading that around, and you get to some of those mini games that require precision. Okay, precision on your movements and stuff. Joy-Con drift becomes a serious problem because we have some of our Joy Cons that are drifting, from time to time. Sometimes they're fine for a while and then they're drifting again. And we experienced some issues with Joy-Con drift in very specific mini games where you had to like, have like precise like jumps or moving around or whatever. And it really got in the way. So
So,
not go
does the
ahead.
game not support like pro controllers instead as a replacement, or no?
It does. In fact, that's what we did when we were experiencing Joy-Con
Ah.
drift. Is that we switched. Whoever was playing with the Joy-Con that had drift, we
Let,
switched to a Pro controller. But a
let
lot
me
of
tell
people,
you this. Here's the thing: Super Mario Party only uses Joy Cons. It does not Pro Controller compatible at all.
okay,
So like I'm
cool.
guessing that they wanted to, as everybody all 4 players had to have one single half Joy-Con as the controller for every game
Mm,
bar none, like no Pro Controller. And so I'm glad that at the very least that for this one that
no, they fixed that.
they did that.
After we had some issues with that, we switched to a Pro controller. But still, like the average, like I assume the average Mario Party player is not likely to have a lot of different controller options.
Yes.
And I think the idea of the game is that especially the idea of the Switch is that you should be able to just be like, hey, like they even showed it in the video when they announced the Switch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The
the rooftop party. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
here you go.
exactly. The ease of just like throwing it around. But Mario Party is already bound to make people upset with like, ah, oh, come on, man. Like as things get bullshits get pulled and etc. And I feel like the Joy-Con drift is just gonna
Add to
add
that.
to that. So Nintendo really has to fix Joy-Con drift at some
Yeah,
point.
I'm glad number one, like you've been in my house. Like I have like four different pro controllers, each of them all different special editions. Right, I'm very bougie like
Hmm.
that. But I'm also glad that because I only use pro controllers when I play on the Switch, all of my house of 1,000 Joy-Cons are all pristine. So if it were to
Hmm.
be a situation where I had to play Super Mario Party, then I at least don't have to worry about drift.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but anyways,
Fair enough.
as far as what I've been playing here, and it's gonna come as no surprise to you, but I've been playing a hell of a lot of Fortnite. Now let me tell you this: I have never played Fortnite as much as I've been playing Fortnite in like almost maybe ever. All right, here's the
Damn.
thing. I have 4 accounts on Fortnite. I have 4 different accounts, and 3 of them are basically like they don't. I don't play on those accounts. I have my main account,
Hmm.
which is my PlayStation account, and that's where all my skins and all my emotes and everything that I've accomplished is all on my PlayStation account. Um, the 3 other alternate accounts are like my Xbox, my Switch, and my PC. So here's the thing: during the times when I had like LAN parties and I used to have people over to play Fortnite, they wouldn't bring their consoles and they would only just use my stuff. So I would like my PS4, my Xbox One, my Switch, my PC, all like LANed up together. And so because of that, I had 4 accounts. So I needed to have I couldn't play like my PlayStation account on all 4 devices. So
Hmm.
I had to have three other alternate accounts, and they don't have any skins on them, and so I have them. So that's it. And it's good for when people come over to play, right? And here's the thing: with the Winterfest, there was a Winterfest during our holiday break, and they were giving away 2 free skins plus emotes plus all this other shit, like wraps and stuff
Hmm.
like that. I went out of my way to do all the Winterfest challenges on all 4 of my accounts, and I got all the skins. So finally, my PC account is like the driest one out of all of them, where it has 0 skins. My PC account now has 2 skins, and actually no, 3 skins because they gave away a third free skin, which is PC exclusive. So it was pretty decent. So like it was a situation where like I like leveled up. I got like to level 10 on all my accounts, and I was playing the hell out of him. The Winterfest challenges were freaking easy. I was able to do, especially when I did the Winterfest challenges at the end of Winterfest. I was able to do all of my Winterfest challenges in 2 games, like in just one fell swoop, because it got to the point where it was like memory. And then, as far as the actual like game itself, though, for my main account, I've been playing Fortnite so fucking much that I got to level 75, and you only need level
Dang.
100 to clear the battle pass, and level 200 to get the alternate bonus skins, which I'm glad that they lowered it to 200. But basically, I went in there and I spent all my V bucks, and I spent like 100. I bought 100 levels, and now I'm at a level 175. So I'm only 25 levels away from like getting the final skin, which is like a golden Spider-Man skin. So I have been
Nice.
fucking crazy on Fortnite.
All right. Well, so you're keeping that you're keeping Epic running just to you alone. I imagine like the folks at Epic Games, they come to work, they're like, Louis Menchaca just put like another like $1,000, yay! Like they're
Yeah.
um
Luckily, the 3 other alternate accounts, I've never spent a dime on them. It's just my PlayStation is the only one that gets all the
they're
stuff. But
they're
yes.
listening to our podcast to like figure out what you like so that they can like plan the next skins and stuff just specifically for you. No, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad that the game brought you back because I do think that we said this a
Hello.
million times,
Yeah.
but we did have a little bit of a low, and I think the proof of that is that it's such a big fan as you were out of it for most of 2021, I would say. So it's interesting that they got you back, and I think that they made the right moves with this new season to get people back.
I saw a Twitter post where it's like that moment when you realize the Spider-Man web swinging in Fortnite is better than the Spider-Man web swinging in Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, damn, shade. But anyways, as far as that Christmas stuff, I actually went and bought myself my own Christmas presents this year. So I first want to bring up the fact that I bought these snazzy like Xbox headset.
Oh yeah.
It's the
I was
official.
interested in those. Those were hard to find though. Where did you find them?
Oh, I found it on at Walmart just randomly.
Okay.
There were a whole bunch of these at Best Buy, like a shit ton, pre Black Friday. But as soon as I wanted to go buy these on Black Friday, and they were cleared, and they never got
Right.
restocked. And I looked at and then I was just at Walmart just randomly, and I just saw the only one that they had. Like it was just literally the only pair. So I just got it for myself, and I was like, cool. And then I decided, you know what? I need to be able to play Fortnite at any time I want. So I bought myself this Kishi uh, remote, and what it does
Oh.
is it basically turns your cell phone into a Nintendo Switch.
You know what's funny? I actually bought something similar as well for myself, but it's not that. So the one I bought is just rather than it being like a controller that you put your phone in, it's just a almost like a little stand that where you plug in, like you put in your Xbox controller and your phone, and then
Yeah,
you use your Xbox controller with your phone.
yeah, like a little
Um,
clip-on kind of accessory. With like a
yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I have one of those.
So I did that, and I tried playing. I connected to my Series X, and I tried playing Forza Horizon that way, and it worked surprisingly well. Like it did have a little bit of latency to the point where it wasn't the most enjoyable experience for a game like that, but it was I was positively impressed by how good it felt. Still, like I felt like, okay, this is not going to be my primary way to play something like Forza, but if I was playing a more slow paced game, I could totally do this.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I just
yeah.
wanted to give a quick little like review on this because number one, like it's pretty nice and pretty compact and everything and expands and all. The
Hmm.
control, the analog sticks feel really good. Like they're like small, like smaller than an Xbox sticks, but like also not. They're bigger than the Switch's sticks. So like the Joy
Hmm.
Cons, like they feel very nice. The triggers are nice and a little springy. I don't really like the bumpers. They kind of suck. But the face buttons are a little squishy, but they kind of get the job done. Other than
Nice.
that, like as far as responsiveness, it feels like very good to play. It feels very natural. Nintendo Switch, handheld mode has gotten me used to how it should feel. And whenever I put this on my phone, it's just like it feels like almost as if it was designed, like where the phone was designed for this or whatever. I don't know. But I have two things. Number one, I downloaded the Xbox app and I'm able to like stream from my Xbox Series X to my phone, and the latency was almost felt like I was playing natively. Like I streamed Fortnite from my Xbox to my phone, and the picture quality was A1, the responsiveness was A1. I was able to get my shots in and like get my build going.
Nice.
It was like freaking amazing. And then I downloaded the Fortnite app on my phone, like the actual Fortnite app, because I can't. Uh, my Xbox,
I thought that was still not available.
it's available on Samsung devices, and this is a Samsung
Okay.
phone. And so I downloaded the Fortnite app, and the Fortnite app was like trash. Okay, the graphics
Interesting.
suck. The graphics worse than the Nintendo Switch, and I was kind of disappointed. It could barely. I tried to put settings to 60 frames. It was hitting 45. The everything just sort of sucked. Draw distance was ass. Like it was just pretty blurry. So I played it. I was able to link all my accounts. So I have my PlayStation account was linked to the Fortnite app. My PC account and my Switch account were all linked. So basically, I have access to all four of my Fortnite accounts via like the Kishi in the phone. So it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. So I was able to do a couple of like quick matches. I haven't been able to do party chats yet because I haven't tested that yet. But otherwise, just gameplay. It's the Fortnite app. It gets the job done. But I would probably stick to streaming on the Xbox, which is really weird because you would think that streaming would be like the inferior version from a latency perspective. But I guess the hardware on the phone itself wasn't able to like pull off the
Yeah.
graphics that I want. So
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to gaming capability, the hardware of your Series X is going to be significantly better than what you have on your phone. So it actually makes sense, in this weird way. It's if the latency can be minimized, if you have a strong enough internet speed to minimize the latency, then that would probably be the way to go. Yeah.
yeah, so this was on sale. I know I'm a
Hmm.
walking commercial right now, but this was on sale during holiday season. I think I got it for 55 bucks. So I think it was worth. So
Do you want to say what it was called again in case people missed it,
oh,
especially on the
it's
audio?
it's called the Razer Kishi,
Nice.
Kishi. I think is how you pronounce it. So
Cool.
there's different models. This model has a USB-C connector for Android. There's an Apple connector version for iPhones.
All right. Louis, there's just one more thing that I played that I wanted to mention, and I'll make this quick
Okay.
because I know we got to move on. But I started playing Horizon Zero Dawn again.
Ah.
Um, so I am having a pretty good time with it. I already went farther than I went the first time I played it because when I first played it, I didn't really go far at all. I was very much in the beginning of the game, and I just kind of fell out of it. So this time I'm already past that. And, I'm like probably like 5 6 hours into the game or something, and that game is really good. Honestly, it is even for like today's standards. It still feels very good in my opinion. I know that people kind of it got the short end of the stick when people were comparing it to Breath of the Wild, like, oh, you can't climb everything or whatever. But that's not all games are about, right? Like,
It
a
was under
game
its
is not,
shadow. That's kind of fucked
yeah,
up. Yeah.
Yeah, a game is not necessarily worse off because you can't climb anything or whatever. There's other things like the here's the thing. Horizon Zero Dawn, there are certain things that it does open world wise that I really appreciate, such as giving you directions, having a good quest log where you can track like, all your active quests and stuff, and like so you can select which one you want to do next, and it gives you a waypoint and like the path to get to where you need to get to and stuff like that. And I personally, and I know that that's not the case for a lot of other people, but I like more direction in the games I play, and the reason is because so many times, I'll play a game and then, maybe, I'm busy for a week and I get back to it a week later and
Oh
I
yeah,
don't remember what I was doing, what I was in the middle of. And the thing I struggled with Breath of the Wild is that it was so open that it was very easy to kind of get lost or forget what you were focusing on. And the thing about Breath of the Wild is that it's so fun that even if you're not doing anything, in quotes, like even if you're not progressing anything, you're still having fun while playing the game. It's just such a cool sandbox.
yeah.
Um,
You have your own little micro adventures. Yeah,
yeah. But when it comes to like a more traditional, like, you got your story missions and your side quests and stuff, I feel like Horizon has kind of like almost like sort of perfected the way to do that, where it's like everything is tracked and everything is organized and the menu navigation is perfect. And
it's like the perfect Ubisoft game.
yeah, exactly. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna keep playing it, and I hope I can actually play through the whole thing and finish it. Which I don't know if I will because I'm getting really distracted with the side quests. There's so many side quests, and they're actually kind of interesting and fun to do. So we'll see. But I want to keep playing it. I want to see if I can finish it over the next few months before Forbidden West comes out. And then I'm probably not gonna play Forbidden West right away anyway because I always do that. But we'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
I played the beginning of Horizon Zero Dawn. When I got it on the PS5, I like there's backwards compatibility mode. It plays like the PS4 Pro version of the game, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
and basically it was like 4K as fuck, and I was like, damn, it's like so nice.
Hmm.
The only thing I really I can say just off of my memory is like there's just too much HUD elements, and I know you can
Hmm.
disable it, but I'm like a basic bitch that I want to play on the default setting, so I wouldn't want to turn it off because on the
Right.
one hand, like it uglies it up for me, but at the same time, I feel like I need it to be there so I know what I'm doing. So
Another thing I want to mention too is that you're able to play the game stealthily. I guess like the game does have stealth mechanics, but I have no idea how to play that game stealthily because I always try like I start going stealth and then I always get detected early on and then I just go in quotes like guns blazing,
yeah,
and I do so much better just kind of like killing everything than actually trying to stealth my way through it. So I almost wonder like if that's like it could be just a me experience, but if other people relate to this, I almost wonder if it's a failure in design, in some way, that the game makes it easier to go through situations by just kind of killing all the machines than it is because the combat is so good. You have an arsenal of weapons and equipment, and if you're actually like doing side quests and upgrading your stuff, it is not that hard to come in and just kind of dodge the attacks and kill everything. um so especially because you can freeze them and you can use all this other stuff that you have.
Hawkeye
um
trick arrows.
yeah. So basically, I wonder if the design is flawed in the sense that it makes it easier for you to do it. For you to prioritize combat over stealth as opposed to it being balanced. And I wonder if that's something that they're gonna change
Well, at least
with
during
the
the
next game.
tutorial
But
section, they force you to do a stealth section where if you
yeah,
get caught, you automatically reset.
here's the thing on the tutorial part, yes, but then when you get to the open world, it's like there's just kind of enemies everywhere as you're walking around, and it's hard to actually like approach situations stealthily. Like so many times, I like when I notice an enemy, it's like he's already coming at me anyway. So I'm like, I might
Yeah.
as well just
I
get
wonder
this
if
done
like
with.
the game can like reward players for doing it stealth. Like if they can give you like
Yeah,
a bonus XP or something like that, where because like you would almost if you always go in there guns blazing and stuff like that, then maybe you're just only experiencing one aspect of a game that you're not
yeah, true,
fully realizing it. But yeah,
true, true.
anyways, yeah, that was good talk. Good talk. As far as actual topics of discussion, there are only two topics, which is very odd because normally we have like 4 to 6. But hey,
And
it is what it
also,
is.
we are supposedly covering everything from like the last like 3 weeks that we haven't done regular episodes, but there's just not a lot. There's just not a lot that happened during that time frame.
Exactly, and this is exactly what I said during the those pre-recorded episodes. Like, oh no,
Yeah.
it's gonna be quiet, and then there you are, boom. All the news that we're talking about literally happened within the last few days. But anyways, speaking of the last few days, PSVR2 got announced, bringing eye tracking and Horizon's Aloy to the living room. Okay, so here's the thing. CES happens at the beginning of January, and for those that you don't know, CES is the consumer electronics show where all the big tech companies show off their biggest invention and gadgets, new TVs, new everything, whatever. So Sony took to the stage and showed off the PSVR 2, and I'm going to, you know what? I'm not even going to read this article because I really just gave away the sauce. There's no need to do this, but we're just gonna like TLDR this. So it's officially called PSVR2, which we've already been calling it that. But
Shocking.
yeah, it's never been officially said by Sony that that's what it's called, but that's the official name. They called the controllers the Sense controllers, is what they're calling it. They talked about the features of the VR2, that it's got like a 4K visual like display, as well as like 110 degrees field of vision or field of view, which is bigger than the PSVR 1. It's only got one cord. It's going to make things a little bit more sexier, but zero cords would have been sexier, but you know, whatever. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that I missed in the TLDR other than the fact that they announced Horizon VR?
Let me see.
Oh, wait,
I'm a
by the way,
little bit. I haven't been as up to date with this thing. So, do we have a price yet?
no, I don't
Or
believe there was ever a price announced here. But as far as the Horizon game is called, Horizon Call of the Mountain is the VR
Mhm.
title. Sort of
Yeah,
skimming through this, and no, this article does not mention a price.
yeah. And if you want to put it up for the video watchers, there's a video there where they're talking about the new Horizon game, and they get to the actual gameplay around like 120. Um, so here's the thing. I think it's really cool for them to have kind of like this original Horizon experience as sort of like a possible like killer app for the PSVR 2 from the get go. I think that something that Sony maybe realizes that if they want to push this hardware, they need something that people are going to want to get it for. A game that people want to get it for. I am not a big believer in the traditional kind of killer app scenario because we've seen so many times where consoles had a killer app and they still like failed, or they never had a killer app and they still succeeded, or whatever. I don't think that is a one to one like yeah, because I would argue that the PS4, and I've said this before in the podcast, so you're not remembering it based on your eyebrows being raised. Um, if you look at the first few years of the PS4 versus the Xbox One actually had more killer apps than the PS4 did.
Yeah,
The
I remember
Xbox
that.
One had like a new Halo coming out, and you had Forza and stuff like
Titanfall.
yeah, and Titanfall, and the PS4 was kind of slow. Like we didn't get Uncharted and Horizon until like late 2016 and then 2017, and yet the PS4 was dominating. It was destroying the Xbox One. Like the Xbox One didn't have any chance. And what I what I think is that you know the better full product always wins, even if it doesn't necessarily has the very best game. Um, Similarly, we had some years with the Wii U where the Wii U had the best games, and I know that that's weird for people to hear, and some people might disagree with this, but there was like I think it was like 2014 or something where the Wii U had the best games of the year. It was like Smash 4 and Super Mario 3D World and stuff. It was like some of the best games of the year,
Yeah,
but it wasn't enough to sell the Wii U. Bayonetta 2 as well, and etc.
like Mario Kart 8
So
was in there. Yeah, I remember.
um that being said, like New Horizon game, it's creating excitement for this thing from the beginning. They're making it better. I really think that they have some strong competition on the Oculus Quest 2 right now. Um, the Oculus Quest 2 is a full wireless device that you can get for a price that's cheaper than getting a PS5 or cheaper than even getting a PS4 for that matter. I think the Oculus Quest 2, I think you can get it for like $300 right now. Sometimes even less when it's on sale and stuff. Um, so I think I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think it will be hard for them to compete with the Oculus Quest 2.
Okay. All right, I don't really have much to say, but I'm on the team camp of every game, every system needs a Super Mario 64. But uh, so yeah, that's just especially VR. VR needs a Super Mario 64 in general, but it needs
Mhm.
that come to Jesus moment. And I don't know, if, maybe we've gotten close. I can't think of. I've
I
had some
think
pretty good VR experiences, but I can't say like this is the one I need to show people.
here's the thing: there are VR games that people swear by and that people love, and but there's just not enough of them, right? Like there's just not enough people talking about these games because just not enough people have VR. So it's kind of this weird like chicken and the egg situation where it's like, even if the VR had a killer app, it would be like the one dude that's into VR that would be like, "Oh man, this game," and everybody else is just rolling their eyes, right? It's like Half-Life Alex. Like everybody that
Yeah,
played that
that's
game,
the one.
yeah, everybody that played Half-Life Alex was like putting it in their game of the year lists and stuff and being like, "Oh, this game is fantastic and stuff."
Yeah,
Even
that's
though
the one. If anything, that's the one game I would say. I was like, my mind was going to Iron Man VR, but yeah.
so,
Um,
but anyway, it wasn't enough. We'll see. We'll see if the PSVR2 can do it.
okay, now Dan, you want to
Yes.
talk about NFTs, which is interesting because we've been doing this podcast for over like 2 years now, 100 episodes in, and we're just now saying the words NFT and on our podcast series.
We've actually said it like a few weeks ago where I said we should talk about this, but let's table it for another
Oh
episode,
yeah, I
if you
forgot about
remember.
that. Yes, you're right. We did.
All right.
You did. You remembered because I didn't.
So here's the thing. Do you want me to take over from here, by the way? Or
Yes, and before I pass it off to you, Dan's got some very nifty headlines, and I actually read those articles during the prep for the show. So
Oh, okay, cool.
yes,
So we got to a point now where it's we can't ignore this anymore because it's literally nonstop NFT headlines. I'm putting the show together and it's like NFT, 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 right? So like for example, since we last did the show, I found like 5+ different NFT related headlines and I threw them in here. Stalker 2 developer backtracks on NFT plans following criticism. Then we got Square Enix stock soars 7% on NFT plans despite massive backlash online. The new Samsung TVs will include cloud gaming and NFT support, which I think the cloud gaming part is a lot more interesting of that
it's
story. But
Stadia. Yeah,
yeah, Konami looks to cash in on NFT mania with digital collectible collection. And GameStop stock takes off as plans for NFT marketplace comes into focus. So NFT stands for non fungible tokens. I had never heard about this thing until about halfway through 2021.
hmm.
I don't know when this became a thing. I know that's when it kind of started popping off and becoming like more of a trend, more of a conversation topic. And I first heard about it from a coworker, who's just kind of telling me about this thing. Oh, have you heard of this NFT thing? Is this new thing people are talking about or whatever? And what it is to those that don't know, but I doubt people that will be listening to this podcast wouldn't know this yet. But it's kind of like this new form of almost like currency in quotes that exists in was created in blockchain technology that allows media to be shared and sold and owned in a way where I can go and make a GIF and then sell it to Lewis, and now it is officially Lewis, and he owns it and he can sell it and so forth. That's basically what the idea is, but it's supposed to exist within this blockchain technology, which means that it's not directly associated with any particular person's, server or game or product. It's a shared kind of cloud thing. And I don't really understand how blockchain works, but it's supposed to be safer and all these other things. And then, as this starts becoming a trend and people are making money off of it, either by, being companies creating and selling NFTs or people selling them or buying them and reselling them, and etc. Um, Game companies are kind of jumping into this and starting to go like, oh yeah, we're going to do the system in our game where we're going to sell these NFTs. And then if you go and you buy these NFTs, you unlock things in the game and so forth. And they're kind of they just kind of want to a piece of the pie. There's this new big trendy thing happening. People are making money off of it. So the game companies, so many of them. I mean, we just mentioned Konami, Square Enix, Stalker 2. I don't remember which company is making that. GameStop and Ubisoft has had some headlines related to this as well. And the games industry is just, or the games media and the enthusiastic folks on Twitter and on social media are absolutely furious about it. They're hating on this. They can't stand it, right? And the truth is, this all happened so fast, and it's all kind of happening so fast that I don't know if I have a strong opinion either way for it yet. And the reason is because if you there here's the thing, Lewis. The way I kind of feel about it is like, if you hate this, then what about you just don't buy it? Like, so I don't understand yet why like people are so furious about it. Just like, if you don't like microtransactions, if you don't like Fortnite skins being sold, just don't buy them, right? Like, that's kind of the way I look at it. And I don't look at this any different. To me, it feels like this is just another way of making microtransactions. I do think it's stupid. I do think you're probably just wasting your money if you're expecting that this is going to make you rich. There's people making money off of it right now because they're buying things and reselling them, but that's only going to go so far. And at some point, you're going to start buying things that you're not going to be able to resell for that much. And at some point, this shit is not going to, this bubble is going to pop, and the shit's not going to worth as much as it is right now anymore. So I just monologued here for like the last 5 minutes. So I'm gonna give the floor up to you, Lewis. We haven't talked about this subject at all with each other yet. So what are your thoughts on this whole
I think it's bullshit. I hate it. I don't like it.
thing?
I'm gonna tell you this right now. South Park did a special, like the Return of COVID special, or whatever. It was a second. It was a sequel to their first Return of COVID. Return, whatever. Anyways, during the thing, like Butters was trying to sell people on NFTs and stuff like that, and he was like, it was essentially like being portrayed as a Ponzi scheme, essentially,
Hmm.
and it was like, damn, it was pretty nasty. They ripped NFTs a new one. And the second thing, there was a headline that I literally saw on my YouTube feed, like literally like either yesterday or today, where it's like people are getting very mad that people are selling NFTs of the late Etika. So it's
Mm.
like, that's pretty like what's the word, distasteful. It's just like very whatever. It's very bad in my opinion, like very bad taste. Um, so that being said, like NFTs, here's the thing. NFTs is a digital good. It's a thing that doesn't have a NFTs are being treated like they're assets, like they're property, like they're a house that you buy. And it's really just a digital thing. It's a digital good that really an NFT of a GIF, people can see that GIF on a Google image search. It's not
Right.
like this it's an exclusive image or a GIF or whatever or a video. People with NFT videos, by the way. It's not like it's something that can't be seen by other people. So it's like you're not owning the copyright of it. You're not owning anything.
Yeah.
You're not owning a license. You're owning a blockchain technology that basically says on multiple people's servers slash computers. It's saying it's basically
It's a
saying that
code.
yeah.
You're basically owning a code, right?
Yeah,
It's like
you're owning a code of it basically. And so what it
yeah.
is like for those that don't know what blockchain is whenever like computers are on a network and they all are ledgers to each other. So there is no centralized ledger that tells you like this is the accounting book. This
Hmm.
isn't like an accounting book with the balance and stuff like that. Everybody has the entries and everybody has their own accounting book and they all meet together and ping each other and confirm that everyone's work is correct. That's basically what
Hmm.
blockchain technology is. It's basically peer to peer, basically information sharing, and making sure that everyone's on the same page when it comes to ownership of
Right.
stuff. That's how Bitcoin works. So what they're doing is they're saying that when you create an NFT, tell everybody in this blockchain that I own this particular NFT, and everyone agrees to it. That's literally all it
Hmm.
is. It is literally not a, how do I put this? We have gone to the point in society today where we no longer value work. We no longer like value like labor and like electricians, plumbers, and stuff like that. Things that when you buy or sell goods and services, it's a transaction of actual work that's done. Instead, we're now um, uh, putting money and value, and we're separating it from like they're it's so separate. Like they're not even. I don't know
Right.
if I'm making sense here, but basically, we're now money and work and labor
It's
are now
abstract.
like are
I
abstract and
think
they're
it's the
separated from each other,
yeah.
and there's like almost like no what's the word, like a check, like a
Yeah.
gold standard check on this. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
That's my diatribe. I was sort of like biting my tongue and stuff like that, but like I just kind of like this sucks and this is stupid, and if it blows up, I don't give a fuck. I'm not participating.
Yeah, I'm not participating either, by the way. I was just kind of like justifying why I don't feel as furious about it as other people do. Now, granted, I'm also not fully educated on it. I'm sure that there's like probably things going on and pyramid schemes and et cetera that would piss me off more that I'm just not as aware of. I wonder if it's like, I wonder if people are upset, or rather, I wonder if the upsetness is more justifiable if it's towards the way the system is being used than if towards the system itself. Because I feel like there is a scenario that you could come up with where the system is being used for good. Um, but I don't necessarily can tell you what that scenario is, but I'm thinking something along the lines of like, perhaps an artist is able to make a piece of art and sell it to somebody and have it be valued, while otherwise, artists really struggle to make any money from things they make online, or there's a lot of artists that do. So the idea of it becoming just like what Patreon kind of did to creators, where it allowed them to monetize things that they were not able to monetize before as easily directly to their audience. If this could be used for that, right? Like maybe like you as an artist can create something and then you can sell it and maybe even have multiples of it and sell it to multiple people, and those people that buy it actually have some kind of copyright over it at that point.
Yeah, like
Like
a certain NFT can only be sold by 100 quantity, and that's it. And once those are sold, they're not going to be resold or something like that.
Exactly. And then like maybe if somebody else, just copies it and uses it, then I could claim like, hey, like you got to take that down because I'm an owner of that and you're not. Or maybe there could be some way that this is incorporated with legality, with regulation, where it's actually being used for something interesting and good. But
Well, here's the thing. Like the first time I heard of NFTs, I think it was like Logan Paul like brought this to my attention, where it's like he's selling
mhm,
NFTs and stuff like that, and then he made a killing. Not, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul and his personality, but whatever. Anyways, that all that notwithstanding, like NFTs by their very nature, blockchain is a decentralized thing. I think
mhm,
in the abstract, I think that there is some like value that blockchain technology could exist. I think it's more than just
mhm,
Bitcoin, but the fact that everyone has like a ledger, a checks and balance, and everyone, and in the blockchain basically agrees on a certain value being correct. You know, I think that's an interesting thing because it's like, if a bank has a server and like my account balance is on that bank server, but if that bank server were to just get like hacked into, or like, you know, freaking like a fight club gets like bombed or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, what happens to my account balance? Well, with the
mhm.
power of like, blockchain, there's another server that doesn't have that, that knows it, it's like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff seems very interesting. It's like in the abstract, I think blockchain isn't necessarily bad. I just think that people's implementation of it is just awful. You know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention, and I don't know the details about this because I actually didn't look into it that far, but I'm a fan. I root for a soccer club from my country of Brazil, and like everybody from there does. And my soccer club is starting to do a thing with NFTs where they're gonna sell, like 1,000 of this NFT or something, and whoever buys it, well, it's very cheap. They're gonna sell it for like $1 or the equivalent, and then whoever buys it is basically buying the right to vote on certain polls that will help determine small little decisions for the club. So it's like, it's not going to be like, oh, which player we're going to hire, but it's going to be things like, oh, like we're going to put this new like star in our jersey, should it be white or red or whatever, and then people will be able to vote on like little things like that, like small, kind of like, so like you basically buying a right to have a small influence in this thing that you care about. And I thought that was an interesting use of it, and it got me thinking like, what if that's kind of what, like, a way that this can be used for good in quotes, is that we're you're not selling the NFT itself, but it's almost like the NFT represents a right to do something. But then the problem with that people would argue is like, well, then that value, that thing is only going to have value as long as this other thing that is attached to exists, right? So for instance, let's say we sell Ready Press Play NFTs, and whoever buys them, can join a Discord server and can send us questions to be read in the podcast or whatever, right? And we sell, 1,000 of them. Obviously, that wouldn't happen with us because we don't we don't have that kind of audience. But now people could buy it, and maybe there's some value in that. Maybe if they get tired of listening to us, they could sell it in some kind of marketplace to other people that would want to buy them, right? There's a limited amount. But at some point, maybe we stop doing the podcast, and then those things are worth nothing at that point, right? So that's kind of where people have an issue with it as well. It's like, these things do not have an inherent value to them. The value is always going to be attached to something else, be it the game running or whatever. That's also true for digital media in general, though, because digital media, you also may own it and then not own it anymore. So
Yeah,
it's
like when
complicated.
Ultraviolet like died and everyone's libraries like went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that though about the whole like little like the soccer club stuff. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem very like inherently evil. If you want to stop voting and stop participating, or you switch teams and like you're fans of someone else instead, you can just sell off your stuff maybe for a profit. Sell it for $5 to somebody
Yeah.
who wants in instead of when you only bought it for one. So
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. And the thing too is that the person who originally sells it can retain a percentage of future sales as well. So that's where there's some potentially nefarious use there as well. Like maybe you're selling these things and you want to make them artificially be inflated so that you can make money on future resales, right? So
oh, that's pretty schemy. That's
yeah.
that's Ponzi scheme right there, kind of talk.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. Interesting. But anyways, I think diatribe over.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to the extra news here. We got not too bad, 11 items plus a roundup, so 12 items on the list. So Baker's dozen. All right, now number one, E3 2022 shifts to online only event because of the Omicron concerns. Now let me tell you this before I move on. Number one, I honestly thought that to be a topic of discussion. Like if I were to put the draft up
Mm.
the doc today, if I done it, I would have put it on top news. Just throwing that out there.
That yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But again, I guess the headline speaks for itself. Number two, CD Projekt Red has agreed on settlement terms with a group of investors who sued the company over Cyberpunk 2077's disastrous launch. Cool. Number three, plot spoilers for Elden Ring can now be found online following a data mine of the last month's network test. Those bastards. Number four, Sega has announced its latest mini console, and it should be an exciting one for the fans of arcade shoot 'em ups. Okay. Number five, John Madden, the Super Bowl champion football coach and Hall of Fame broadcaster and namesake of EA Sports' cornerstone video game franchise for more than 30 years, has died on Tuesday. He was 85. RIP to John Madden. That's that one I actually almost forgot because I was just thinking about Betty White's. It's like, Anyways, number six, Riot Games has agreed to pay $100 million to settle a class action lawsuit over alleged gender discrimination and sexual harassment. Number seven, the Game Awards enjoyed record viewership figures in 2021, the show's organizers have claimed. Now, Dan, I would have appreciated if you put the number of millions of views in this headline, but it is what it is.
I'll get it as you keep reading it.
Number eight, Ubisoft has revealed plans to stage an immersive symphonic concert to celebrate Assassin's Creed's 15th anniversary next year. Holy shit. Assassin's Creed is 15 years old. It's going to be 15. Number nine, a PlayStation 5 remake of the original The Last of Us game is nearing completion and could be released in the second half of 2022. We covered this earlier in the podcast life. I remember this being a big story. Number 10, PlayStation's Ghost of Tsushima has sold through 8 million copies, developer Sucker Punch has announced. Now, I remember seeing a headline saying that, like, what's that motorcycle zombie game?
Days Gone. I
Days
know what
Gone.
you're going to talk about.
Yeah, Days Gone sold more than Ghost of Tsushima, but everyone considers Days Gone a flop. So,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
So what it was is that the lead like creative director or whatever for Days Gone, he's left the company and he's just gone on and talked about all the things he didn't like about the way Sony handled the franchise and etc. And when this story came out and everybody's celebrating like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima, biggest hit, big hit, 8 million copies or whatever, he quote tweeted it and he basically said, Days Gone I also sold that much, and then even more after it went to PC and stuff, and it was treated as a disappointment by Sony management. And then what's his name, Sean Layden, who is no longer at Sony as well, but used to be like the president of Sony before and stuff, or the president of PlayStation at least, replied to it saying like basically kind of validating his comment in a way because he was like, oh yeah, Days Gone was such a big hit. I loved it. When it came out, it was celebrated, whatever. So I kind of took it as both of those people just kind of sending like an indirect message, like to somebody else out there that that they weren't fans of. I don't know if it's Jim Ryan or I don't know, but yeah,
Interesting.
interesting.
Number 11, Lego's Sonic the Hedgehog set becomes a reality or became a reality on January 1st. And finally, the roundup. Rainbow Six Extraction releases day one on Game Pass on January 20th. Nice. And Death Stranding Director's Cut is officially coming to PC in spring 2022. Cool.
Yeah,
I know we already went on our bullet points already as far, but what was the final tally on the Game Awards?
85 million global live streams, but I wanna, good news.
Okay.
Uh, it was 85 million this year. But bad news in a way, last year was 83 million. So it only went up 2 million year over year when the year before it was at 45 million. So they basically doubled from like 2019 to 2020, and then they just went up a little bit for 2021, which I don't want to be the guy who's pessimistic or looks at the glass half empty or whatever. I'm sure they're happy that it's going up and not down still.
Yeah, but
But
yeah, companies are all about growth. Yeah.
yeah, and I have to say that with our criticisms of the show, and with the fact that people caught up to that criticism of the show, I could see a response to this show being a decline in viewership next year.
Yes.
You know, but we'll see. I hope it doesn't happen. What I hope for is that I hope they figure their shit out, improve on the show, and that it gets even bigger from now on. But
One of the
I don't
things that
know.
I'm gonna counter you on, and then this is like a me like speculating here, is like the broadcast became more and more global with each year, and I'm not gonna say it hasn't been broadcast around the globe or whatever. It's on the internet, but what I'm saying is every year it feels like every time they do it, the Game Awards, they're on more platforms. Like suddenly,
Mhm.
I heard of Mixer because of now they don't exist, but I heard of Mixer because of the Game Awards, right? Like suddenly they're gonna find some app that's only in India or whatever the fuck, and they're gonna be on that platform for that audience. I'm saying what I'm saying is like it feels like with every year, part of the reason that they're growing in viewership is also because they're on more platforms every year.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Um, and I do want to bring up a few other things about some of these other stories here. So the Cyberpunk settlement, they ended up having to pay only $1.8 million to the investors. So it's kind of funny that like $1.8 million is nothing to CD Projekt, considering the amount of money that they made with their games. And I think it's funny that we treat the whole like Cyberpunk story as like, oh, this big fiasco. CD Projekt Red, this terrible thing, released this broken game or whatever, and they still sold many millions of copies, made many millions of dollars, and there was honestly not really any negative consequence to any of it. Like the negative consequences, they had to give the investors $2 million, out of the probably $100 million that they made, or more. So I really think that people kind of overestimate the impact that Cyberpunk actually really had on the company. It had an impact from like the perspective, right? Like from
I think
the
it. I think it was more of a PR hit than it was an actual
yes,
financial hit.
yes, 100%. And yeah, if you, it's kind of a check this out to look at either the Sega new console or the Sonic Lego set or whatever. But they're both kind of neat. So if you wanna,
So I'm gonna go back to number one here. Number one being the
yes,
ESA. So like with E3 being online only, and here's the thing: last year's E3 was kind of garbage. Kind of garbage due to fire. Okay, because the companies were clearly not ready to show off anything, but they had to put a show together anyways. And I think the show suffered for it. And digital E3 has left a bad taste in people's mouth, and I'm just starting to think to myself, can the ESA, as a company, as an organization, survive? Can they? Because I would say E3 was probably their moneymaker. It was the thing that kept them going. And now
mhm,
with companies, especially with it being another digital E3, companies don't necessarily have to play ball with the ESA, and just do their own Nintendo Direct. So
yeah. So I'll tell you why I didn't throw this on kind of the top news or major topics of discussion. I saw this very last minute. when I was working on the dock, and I didn't know that was happening, and I didn't have time to like read further into it or really think about it or formulate thoughts. And I assumed that because we have 6 months until E3, that E3 as a subject is probably going to come up over and over again over the next few months, and we're going to talk about it, like expectations going into it, who's going to be there, who's not, then during it, after it, etc. But right now, I am disappointed that we're not going to have an in-person E3. I wish we would. However, I understand, with Omicron and everything that's going on, it feels like we're just going into 2020 part 3 now. um, and it's weird that we have this mix of like GDC is supposedly happening this year in person, but then E3 isn't, and we just had other events that happen and other events that might, Game Awards happened, invite only, but it happened physically. So I don't know what this year's going to be like right now. And with E3, like I I don't mind a digital E3 as much. The thing that is hard with it is that it's a little hard to be able to kind of separate out the things that are actually worth watching versus the things that are not, because sometimes you don't know until you've watched it, and then you've watched it and then you realize
You
that
wasted your time.
half the things you watched were a waste of time, like the Gearbox conference last year was terrible. So or presentation or whatever they called it. So I that's really what it comes down to. Is like, if it's like last year, we're going to have a situation where we have 20 different presentations from a lot of companies that don't need to make them, and there's going to be like 5 good ones, you know what I mean? um which is kind of what last year was. So we'll see. I hope they kind of figure that out. I hope companies individually have figured it out and decide, like the ones that don't have anything to show, just don't do it, or just either don't do it or put your stuff on somebody else's. Go to Xbox, go to Nintendo, go to Sony, and put your stuff in their
Yeah, if you have
presentation
one thing,
instead.
one good thing to show, just go to
Yeah.
yeah, go to someone else's show and do it that way. Yeah, um, it is kind of a bit of a bummer. Like I'm actually kind of like not surprised, especially with we were like at this peak holiday period where like people were traveling, people were getting sick. I know so many people got sick. I actually, um, I'm actually sort of like debating about whether or not to go to in-person events where like
Yeah.
there's a level one gaming is considering going to PAX in April to, I never been to PAX East. I never, PAX. I think PAX East is it PAX East or PAX West? That's PAX Prime, or formerly known
I
as.
don't. I don't
Uh,
remember. Yeah.
I've never been to a PAX Prime, and I think I want to say PAX West might have been it, but anyways, yeah, like I wanna go to a big boy PAX because I've only been to PAX South, which is basically the redheaded stepchild. Which, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, because of COVID, we didn't even. I don't think we talked about it during the podcast, but it was covered on Level One Gaming. But PAX South no longer exists. It got cut from
Mm.
the PAX roster, like altogether.
Interesting.
Like it's never happening again, and they blame COVID in their letter. So I just wanted to say that like it would be nice, and I am not sure if I'm gonna be attending, PAX East and also in-person Smash majors. Like Smash tournaments are back, but like I haven't gone to any of them. I usually
Mm-hmm.
go to the majors and stuff, especially during the summertime. But I'm kind of like a little iffy on it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing we're going through. It's been a weird thing for forever now, and it continues to be. And there's not much we can do other than wait and see what the general advice is. I had pretty much gone back to living my life as normal over the last few months. I took so long to actually get there. Like, I know you've been there for like a year now, but I, especially living in California, I only got there towards the end of this year, because even when things reopened, I still didn't feel it just didn't feel right for a while
yeah,
to do certain things. And then towards the end of 2021 was really when I started, like, okay, let me go and see my friends again, and let me go and make plans. And I was actually going out. There was like a good like 3 or 4 weeks where I had things going on like every week, and then I went to the movie theater and I watched Spider-Man, and I'm like, after I got my booster, especially, like I just felt confident, like I'm good now, like everything is fine, it's gonna be fine. And then now it's starting to look like maybe it's not fine,
yeah,
and it's rough, man. It's rough.
yeah. So, anyways, coronavirus watch out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. Dan,
Yeah,
you're much faster at doing these the wrap ups than me, so I'm glad it's your
back to
turn.
video games. Yeah,
Uh,
let's do it. We're good.
Go ahead and I'll give the show over to you. You can take us home. Wait. You know what? Fuck you. I'm leaving it. That's your sound effects.
All right, that's it. So we're here to talk about the new releases and updates that happened, for the whole month of January so far, all the way up to January 13th is the period that we're going to cover. So first, five new Mega Drive or games, which that's just a different name for the Sega Genesis. Is
Mm-hmm.
that right?
Yes.
Or yeah, were added to Switch Online expansion pack. They are Altered Beast, Dynamite Heady, Sword of Vermilion, Thunder Force 2, and Toe Jam and Earl. We also got a new update for Back for Blood that added a single player campaign mode, which that's kind of cool. We had Far Cry's crossover Danny Trejo missions finally available more than a month after they were accidentally released early. I don't know about that story, but there's something in there. And then also we got a January 11th release date for the Pagan Min DLC for Far Cry 6. If you remember, they're doing the villain themed DLC episodes and stuff that they're releasing
I
for that
think you
game.
like messaged me out of nowhere you text me like, "Hey yo, Danny Trejo is in Far Cry." I don't know if that
Did
I don't
I don't
know.
even remember
I
that.
vaguely remember that, but I don't even think that or somebody did. But anyways,
I could have done it. I could have done it, but it could also have been someone else.
yeah.
And then for actual releases, not a lot coming out right now. We're really gonna hit, or try it in February this year. We got Deep Rock Galactic coming out on PS5 and PS4 on January 4th. So that already came out by the time you're listening to this. And then next week, Monster Hunter Rise comes out on PC on January 12th, and Astroneer comes out for the Switch on January 13th.
As far as new releases go, all three of these are ports. They all came out on
Yeah.
other platforms prior. So I would say, for as far as ports go, I'm sure Monster Hunter Rise gets the biggest W out of them. Generally speaking, when console games goes to PC, they tend to have a lot of fanfare. Like whenever, like especially with like the PS4 games, going to PC, like Uncharted and stuff, or
Yep.
like Death Stranding, all that stuff. So what I'm thinking to myself is one of the things that criticisms that people like lobbied against Monster Hunter Rise is that it's a great game. However, the Switch does a disservice because the hardware chugs; it can't run the game. So if
Right.
anything, Monster Hunter Rise might have the biggest glow up because of the
Yeah.
PC.
Totally. I guess that's the pick of the week then, because there's not a lot to pick from here.
Yeah. All right. This time I'll play the right sound effect.
All right.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
For our Broke Gamers Guide, as typical, we're going to start with the Epic Game Store free games, which, by the way, we just had, the 15 days of free games and, over the holiday season. Were you able to get a lot of good stuff, Lewis?
Honestly, I forgot of most of those days, but I managed
Yeah.
to snag like something that came out this week because this particular week, the week we're recording this, like from Monday, from like last Thursday to this yesterday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
there was the Lara Croft reboot
Yes.
trilogy.
I
I
got
got
that.
all three of those games. That was like the biggest W. That was better than any of the 14 days. I actually went back and researched like the actual like 14 days of Christmas or whatever that they give away every day. Most of them were kind of like duds.
Yeah, there was a few big ones like Control and stuff.
Yeah.
There were games that had been given away before as well. I got
Yes.
the first few, and then I also forgot. I was
Yes.
busy with doing stuff, so I wasn't like logging in every day and checking it out. I
Yeah.
think Loop Hero was a big good game that they released. That's an indie darling from last year. So
I think I
if you
got that
got
one.
that, good for you. I don't remember if I got it or not, but for this coming week, from now until January 13th, the free game is God's Will Fall. It says here, experience the trials of 8 warriors in their plight to sever the gods' grip on humanity as you take on legions of beasts in each of the gods' realms. So I'm not gonna lie, this trailer that's playing here isn't really doing it for me. It looks a little cheap. It looks a little generic.
A little basic.
Yeah. Um, Also, there's a game called Gods Will Fall, and then there's also Godfall. But go ahead and check it out. It's free, and then it looks like next week we're gonna get Galactic Civilizations 3.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So I put a link here for some deals on the Nintendo eShop right now. We got a bunch of New Year sales. There's a Bethesda New Year sale that has a few, all the classic Doom games, that Doom 2016 for $20. You got a Wolfenstein 2 for 12. Some of the other Wolfenstein Young Blood is just $8. Original Quake is 7. So if you're interested in those games on the Switch, you might want to go check that out. Then they also have a Chucklefish New Year sale. They made Wargroove and Eastward, and I've heard really good things of both of these games. Wargroove is kind of a Fire Emblem like that has a little bit more like of a cartoony nature to it. And I hear really good things about. And Eastward, I don't know as much about it, but I know it was a big indie darling this year as well. We got a Devolver sale that has a bunch of different games in there. Carry On, which I played, The Messenger, Grizz. I don't remember if it's Grizz or Gree, actually. My Friend Pedro, a few interesting things. There's a 2K sale with Civilization for just $9. So just a bunch of sales happening in the Switch eShop right now. So you might want to go and check those out. Anything else you want to shout out, Lewis?
The one thing I didn't get last year that I got, or the one thing I didn't get this year that I didn't get last year was Nintendo eShop gift cards for Christmas. I did get one.
Which
I got like $100 last year, and I was like happy, and it lasted me till March. But yeah, as far as the Chucklefish sale, oh, nice. Yeah, I
I
only
was
got
just showing to the
PlayStation.
camera on my PlayStation and Xbox gift cards
I
that I
only got
got.
PlayStation gift cards, but whatever. So as far as like the Chucklefish sale, I just want to say those bastards. They didn't put on the. I think Chucklefish distributed or published Stardew Valley, right? So I don't know. I could be making that up, but if that's true, those bastards.
Yes, yes, they could have done Stardew Valley as well. Um, all right. Well, moving on. We're gonna hit here. Take a look at the PS Plus and Xbox Live Gold games for January, and on PlayStation Plus. Let me put up the list here.
Man,
We got Deep Rock Galactic for PS4 and PS5, Dirt 5 for PS4 and PS5, and Persona 5 Strikers, which is the Persona spin off for PS4. So, mediocre list, I would say. Not that exciting.
so it's
Agree,
got Persona
Lewis?
5 in there, so that's name recognition alone is
Sure, but it's not Persona 5. It is
yeah.
Persona 5 Strikers, which I believe is like a fighting game based on Persona or something. It's
Yes.
not like actual Persona 5. So but it's probably still better than Games with Gold,
Yes.
which is getting uh, Nero Voider from January 1st to January 31st, A Ground from January 16th to February 15th, Radiant Silvergun from January 1st to January 15th, and Space Invaders Infinity Gene from January 16th to January 31st.
Sure.
All right. Now, what's more exciting on Xbox side, however, is on Game Pass. We're getting some pretty good games coming out in January to Game Pass. So let me go through the list here. We got Garagoa coming to Cloud Console and PC, Olija Cloud Console and PC, and The Pedestrian, a game I played, and it's a Dan approved game, coming to Cloud Console and PC.
I
Uh,
recognize that one.
those are all already out, just like, just coming out today, day of recording. Amber on Cloud Console and PC. Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming to console and PC. That's a big one. That's a big get. All three Mass Effect games remastered. Outer Wilds, Cloud Console and PC, which that was on Game Pass at some point. Then it got out of Game Pass and now it's coming back. So
Hmm.
that's an interesting turn of events there. Spelunky 2 is coming to Xbox, to console and PC on January 13th. The Anacrucis is coming to console and PC on January 13th. I think I remember seeing this game, the Anacrucis, on one of the events from last year, like E3 or something. And yeah, that's it. There's some DLC and etc. Now, the things that are leaving, and these are all leaving on January 15th: Desperados 3, Ghost of a Tale, Kingdom Hearts 3, that's a big hit there, Mount and Blade Warband, Pandemic, and Eek, a postmodern RPG. Um, I'd say that's a positive month. You know,
Oh, and then
losing.
PUBG is going free to play, so it's leaving Game
Oh,
Pass on January 10th, and will become free to play on January 12th. That's interesting. Yeah.
we also got some additions to PlayStation Now. So 6 games will be available right now, started from January 4th. Mortal Kombat 11, Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, Fury Unleashed, U-Turn, Super Time Force Ultra, and Kerbal Space Program Enhanced Edition. So those will all be on PlayStation Now right now if you're into that. And then we do those shout outs every once in a while. On Prime Gaming, something they got free this month, Lewis. If you scroll down to Games Free with Prime, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is free with Amazon Prime right now, as well as Total War, Warhammer, World War Z, Aftermath, and a few other games.
Holy crap! There's not. It's been a long time since Twitch Prime games have actually been pretty decent, but they managed to get Jedi Fallen Order. That's Here's the thing. Um, there is two types of free games that they've been giving away, and I've been kind of a little miffed by it. And I hope this is not the case. But
Mm-hmm.
there, when they had a Twitch Games has its own client launcher that you had to download in order to claim the free games. Basically, it's Twitch's Steam, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of games that I tried to claim that I couldn't claim because you had to do it through like EA Origin or something like that. And I hope that that's not the case. As a matter of fact, looking at Jedi Fallen Order, seeing this little icon on the bottom right, it's probably Origin. So, fuck. Yeah, look. You see the bottom right, that little crown. That's the Twitch client launcher. The other two, like World War Z
Mm.
Aftermath, that's the Epic Games launcher. So they're giving them away for
Interesting.
free, but you have to do it through other launchers. So
Interesting. I
interesting.
didn't know that's how it worked.
So
But yeah, Lewis, that's it for my segment. So you can take the show home.
before I say that, I just want to say I almost bought Mass Effect Legendary Edition for during Christmas. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But next up, all right, let's go ahead and wrap it up with the. It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember you can reach the podcast at ReadyPlayNetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88 and Dan.
At De Lima.
So don't forget to subscribe and give us a review and tell your friends about the show and all that good stuff. Peace.
See you next time.